You're watching Newsday here on the Rise News. The 37 bodies have been recovered from the rubble of the collapsed high-rise building in Ikoyi, Lagos State. And that's according to figures released by the Lagos State government. The number of survivors from the incident also stands at 9. At the moment, emergency services are continuing to sift through the mangled heap of twisted iron and shattered bricks in the hopes of finding more survivors. Now, this morning we're being joined from the site of the tragedy by, let's bring in the Rise correspondent, Tokunbo Oyetunji, for some little update. Tokunbo, honestly, thank you for joining us here on Newsday. Can you bring us up to speed with the latest in the rescue efforts? Tokunbo, if you can hear me, it would be nice that we can actually get you speak to us today from the site, of course, on Gerald Road, Ikoyi, Lagos State. We know it's still a live site. What's really happening this afternoon? Have we gotten anyone rescued today? What's the level of progress being made in this rescue effort? All right, pending when we try to get across to Tokunbo.
Thank you very much, Aaron,
okay, I think we have Tokunbo live now.
We are still at the site of the 21-story building collapse here on Gerald Road, Ikoyi, Lagos. Well, like you know so far, official figure put out by the state government of casualties from this unfortunate incident still remains 37. 9 rescued, 3 discharged, 6 still recuperating at the hospital. We're told yesterday by the governor of the state that one of those victims rescued who were initially taken to the Lagos Island, the Lagos State Hospital at Marina, one of them was taken away from that hospital to another state of a medical care facility. That's the Lagos State University Teaching Hospital in Ikeja for what they call an advanced medical care. Though the governor said the man is not in any life-threatening situation, but they needed to move him away from the Marina Hospital to Lasuth for that advanced care. So that's what we have. And at the same time, we're told by the government that yesterday, because the only high-ranking official that we've had here this morning has been the Deputy Governor, Mr. Dr. Obafemi Amzat, who came in here slightly about over an hour ago. He's been in there with the emergency workers who are still trying to dig through the rubble to see what more they can get, how many more people or how many more bodies they can get out of the rubble. So what we were told yesterday by the governor, the state government, is that the coroner inquest into the bodies of those who were brought out dead from here, will be concluded today, and family members can start to come from today to identify the bodies and probably continue with what will be the next line of action, probably to release them for proper burial.
Tokunbo, thank you for that. In terms of the situation and the scene around, for the past few days it has been quite tumultuous. Can you speak to us on what the tensions or temperature is like on ground right now with the security agencies and also the families of the victims?
Can you say that again?
The situation, yes. The situation, no problem, Tokunbo. The situation on ground with the way people are feeling on ground. Are there a lot of families still there looking for their lost ones in the rubble? And is there still quite a lot of security presence as well? Or has the crowd dissipated for the most part?
I didn't get the entire question, but I think what I can take from that question is about the security situation here. Yeah, in fact, as I talk to you now, a team of security men, is still coming into this place. The CP of the Commissioner of Police in Lagos State is just walking in with some of his men, and even the commander of the task force. So, talking about the security situation here is okay. There are not many people who had been seen all along since the incident happened on Monday. here today. Just a few onlookers who are here. Some family members were here much earlier to actually see what is being done about search and rescue going on. That some of them even got so agitated to have interrupted the live intervention by my colleague Adefemi Akisoya earlier on. So the situation is calm, and the security guys are all around here. No, there's no incident apart from that very unfortunate disruption of our live intervention. Then everything appears calm now. So we don't know what may happen in the next hours or so. But talking about security presence, we have a good number of security guys here, not just the regular policemen. We have some military men who are equally here, and even traffic control personnel too have been here because of the tailback that the situation here is creating on this very popular Bodilon route to actually control the traffic. So security, like in their parlance, area cool and calm, like if I can put it that way.
All right, Tokumbo, try to keep it brief. How is the level of work today? At the site, I can see excavators behind you moving. How is the level of work today?
Okay, let's bring you up to speed about the level of search that is going on. We can report to you that maybe less than an hour ago, we saw a bag, a body bag being parked by the rescue the emergency responders here. Nobody has been able to confirm to us, but we suspect that that's another body pulled out of that rubble. As I talk to you, if you just look down, if my camera can pan down, you still see the equipment digging through the rubble to see how much more they can get out of it. Now the rubble is massive, and they're trying all they can to actually get to see what more they can pull out of the rubble. The level of work is ongoing, but apart from what I told you about what we suspected to be a body being pulled out of that place, nobody has been able to confirm to us. There has not been any other major discovery as at this morning. Aaron.
Talking about any discussion about how long they will be on ground to excavate? How many more bodies they're expecting to recover in the next few days?
Oh, well, we really can't tell. It's still very difficult to actually tell the exact number of people who were on site when this happened. But according to the state governor, Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu, yesterday, he said, according to the register they opened on Tuesday, on Wednesday, for family members or people who have reports of missing persons to give, that as at that yesterday, they only had 19 people they were looking for. But I bet you, if what I gathered from some of the people that were on some of the survivors that I spoke with is anything to go by, I think there are many more people that we're looking for, apart from that official figure given by Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu. So we don't know how many more are under there, but I can tell you, based on my interactions with some of the survivors and even people around, there could be many more people under the rubble.
All right, I want to say many thanks to you today for bringing us up to speak. Tokumbo Oyetunji, I beg your pardon. All right, let's try to press it further today for some expert analysis on the matter. We are being joined right now by the president of the Association of Consulting Architects of Nigeria, Ayotola Onajide. I want to say thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very
today.
much. Thank you.
And I'm sure over the course of 4 days running into 5 days right now,
yes,
you've heard people speculate, you've heard people postulate in terms of the cause to this huge tragedy that's become a national tragedy and also gripped international attention has actually focused on this. From your own perspective, what's your first analysis of what went wrong in Gerard Road?
Thank you. When you have disasters like this, it's always a very complex matter. There are several issues, some immediate, some long-term, some medium. So it starts from the quality of personnel involved, designers, engineers, architects. That's a possibility. There's a possibility in terms of the quality of builder, the quality of materials, the quality of construction, the methodology of construction is a problem. Then there's an added problem of the institutions that ought to be monitoring buildings of this size. Remember, it's 21 floors. It's not a small building. So I think there are problems there as well. It's a combination of several things. And I think sometimes we need to wait to listen to the investigation. But just looking at the catastrophe for what it is, it's obvious that there's a structural problem. For you to have a building go down, maybe it's a 60-meter building, go down the way it did, it's a structural problem. And that structural problem can be caused by several things. It could be just bad calculations. It could be poor materials or a poor construction method that's caused it. So maybe we need to wait to see exactly what it is, but just from looking at what you've seen there, it's a structural matter, immediately.
And speaking of waiting, we know that a panel has been commissioned to do a 30-day investigation. I'm wondering if 30 days is enough to do a thorough investigation. That's my first question. Second of all, is 30 days too long to maybe shift our attention in order for the reforms to happen? Take, for instance, there's a lot that happens in our country daily. We are constantly being distracted by terrible stories, and it's hard to stay on course. There's so many reforms that are needed in so many different sectors. Do you think that this 30 days might drag things out that we might not necessarily remember to put these reforms in place? Well, I'm talking about the bodies that are responsible for that, the architects and the builders. Would our attention be distracted over this 30-day period, or do you think reforms really will be enacted immediately due to the size and gravity of such a catastrophe?
Well, for starters, I recognized a couple of people on that panel. One of them is a PhD from Imperial College, a structural engineer, who's done maybe 2 or 3 of the largest buildings, the tallest buildings in Nigeria in the last 10 years. He's highly experienced and is capable of finding out within a few bits of investigation what's happened to that building. So I think the 30 days is sufficient. And I think the capability of the people on board will show that they can find the problem. On your second question, which is a very complex social problems that we have, if you remember, in 2016, there's not quite a dissimilar disaster. There was a disaster in Ekate where 36 people, I think, died. Yeah, and the end of that, you'd have thought that there would be some changes to the methodology of the supervising authorities. There were some, but the problem is that they are not enough. I think the problem is that we have a problem of capacity. We have the problem of the institutions not being able to do what is required for them to make the changes that makes a real change to things. So in that case, in 2016, the government at the time actually went as far as prosecuting the developer. They prosecuted them for negligence, I think and they went to court. And what happened in the end? In the end, what happened is that the developer negotiated with the owners or the people who died, the families. I think there were 5 families. They negotiated a sum of money, 50 million naira or something. And then governments, the Lagos state government at the time, insisted that they pay some reparations for that disaster. I think they paid them 100 million naira. And they settled out of court. The judge at the time was very unhappy about that settlement and thought that the settlement was not quite balanced and was unfair. So you can see that in our environment, it's very difficult. But having said this, I think I'm sorry to say that disasters actually make people create change everywhere in the world. In Europe, the same. Same thing happened in France, for instance, in the UK, when there was the fire of London. It changed all the building codes and regulations. So what we want now is for us to go from just being very sorry, and we are very sorry for what has happened, but for there to be real change, for there to be building codes, for architects to be forced to do certain kinds of projects, to make sure that you look at a signboard like that, and if there isn't an architect of repute or a registered architect under the law of Nigeria, somebody says something and says, this is not possible for the builder to be the developer, to be the architect, to be the quantity surveyor, to be the engineer. It's wrong, you know. So I'm hoping that we can go from this to just posturing, for people to be able to say, we need our regulatory bodies. Regulatory bodies are on both sides. There's the Architects Registration Council of Nigeria, in which I am registered under, and all architects are registered under. And then there's the statutory requirements of government to make sure that there's public...
All right.
Yes, sorry.
Quickly, because of time.
Yes.
The tallest building in Nigeria was built in 1979. 32 floors, formerly the Niger building, popularly called NECOM right now.
That's about 130 meters tall.
Yes. This is just 21 stories.
Yes.
Do you feel that this particular incident has tainted the entire value chain of building in Nigeria right now, that people might not be able to trust developers, architects, and the entire value chain of builders in Nigeria?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think what people will then have to do is to check the quality of developer and consultants who are working on the project. So, for instance, if I were to buy a $1 million flat, I should say, where's your planning approval? Yeah? And the reason, there's a social problem as well. If I just say that very quickly. In most entities, most places in the world, if you're going to buy a property like that, you get a mortgage. Right. One of the requirements is that the bank would say, where's your planning approval? Who built it? Have you followed the codes? This. Right. Because they're investing in something. In Nigeria, many of these plush properties are bought cash. So when somebody is investing his own money, you can't question where that money is coming from. He's not going to ask certain kinds of questions. So it's all related. Wow. You know, it's all related. On your question, there are still huge buildings being built in Nigeria, where you can see there's still great buildings being built.
Yes. Sir.
Yeah, and you can see them. You can see the quality of the buildings. You can see the quality of the people working on the buildings. You can look at the architect. You can look at the engineer. You can look at the contractor and say, yes, this is being built according to certain standards.
Mr. Onajide, great conversation we're having. We have run out of time. Thank you so much for coming to discuss this situation with us.